What's up, guys? I'm back from the track. It's Sunday. It's of course we had to turn our clocks ahead. If you haven't done that yet, guys, get on it. It's 11:45. The baby's still napping. She's been down for I don't know, maybe about an hour now. I spent about an hour replying to comments, which I'm very, very thankful for and appreciative of. I just want to put that out there. But I spent more time than I intended to, because once I get typing, man, I don't stop sometimes. It's like my mouth. I just keep running it. So if the baby wakes up, I got a blast. I just had a video going, and my wife called. She called me from work, so I had to stop the video, and I wasn't able to to go back to it. So here we are. She's in one piece. She's little bruised and abused, but that was the most amazing time I've had at that track in a long time. From when this truck was stock, it did do me well for a little bit, but I really wasn't getting around the track like I can now, as far as speed wise. So I wasn't doing as much damage to it that first day out there, and I had a great day. But yesterday was amazing. That Zenoah engine is an absolute beast. It's night and day from the 30.5cc King motor engine that was in there. And don't get me wrong, that's a great engine, absolute great engine. There was nothing wrong with it. I didn't have to pull it out, but I got it in my head that it had an issue with the manifold, and I just decided I wanted more power too, and it was worth it. Somebody had mentioned a while back that the track in racing is actually easier to learn with a little bit more power, and they were right. I was able to send this thing over the tabletop jump and clear the other side, which I was never able to do. I always landed on the tabletop with the other engine. I was able to clear the double, just tapping it, brap, brap, boom, clearing the double. Unbelievable. The difference was, like I said, it was night and day. The tires, these trucks push real hard in the turns. They just do, unlike the buggies. And I was able to notice the difference with these tires immediately. And the track was dry. It looked like a desert wasteland from Mad Max or something. There was cracks in the track. That's a crack in my garage floor. There was cracks in the track like that. And it was as hard as concrete, And you can tell, look at my damn rear shock tower. So I think the track needs a little bit of love in the end, but it was, you can tell there's no clay on my truck anywhere. The only reason there's clay there is because there's a shock oil leaking, but, shock oil, it's clay stuck to the shock oil. But other than that, these things, normally when I take it home, it's like you can't even see the treads on the tires. It's like dog shit, because the clay is so thick, and it's a bitch to get off. So this should be relatively easy to clean. I appreciate all the comments, guys. I just spent some time, like I was saying, replying. Bought a gel, unbelievable guy. I can't thank you enough. The time he spends to post and make a comment, and make sure he adds some advice in there. Always with the tips, letting me know. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff I need to hear, and I think a lot of us could use, because this is one of those hobbies where there's just, it's always something. And that if anybody was ever wondering why I called it Sick and Tired RC, is because as soon as I got that roving, right, I was sick and tired of either ordering the wrong shit, having shit not fit right, not having the time to put the shit on, or getting it out into the field after I spent 6 hours, 7 hours total wrenching on it, and having another goddamn problem 10 minutes into my run, and having to pack it all back up, bring it back to the house, let it sit for 3 days until I can find time to get wrenching on it again. So yeah, that's where the sick and tired part comes from. But what's sick about that is that I love it. And yesterday was just a confirmation of why I do this. You know what I mean? Like I listened to that video that I made, the last one, which was the night before the track, and I thought to myself, damn dude, you sound kind of like a bitch. But you know what? I was bitching, and I was sick and tired. But I love it. It's what we do. It's what I do, apparently, because I keep coming back for more. And yesterday was the reason why. It was just confirmed tenfold. It was a great day. I got to see this thing rip around that track. I was able to get the servo saver tightened up. I broke a pin up here, so I had to take this unit off. So I decided while we were there to have somebody show me, how to tighten it, which is, of course, I knew relatively how to tighten it, but I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right. So I had one of the more experienced guys show me what to do, and that helped with the steering incredible. It was just an awesome day. My truck's, it took some abuse. It definitely did. Most of the guys up there had some issues yesterday, whether it was a pull start or, you know, one of the guys' trucks took off on him. It felt terrible, absolute, just terrible. The guy wasn't even running his truck. It was idling on the ground, and he was changing out receivers, you know, when I got there at the beginning of the day, trying to get it binded up. Well, the receiver apparently he had bought from another guy there. He thinks maybe that guy's controller, you know, sent his truck across the guy's lawn and into a fire pit, into his fire pit. Thankfully, the fire pit was there and it was made of stone, because if not, it would have went through his screen porch, and I guarantee you that would have been in the thousands as far as damage is concerned. But the damage report as far as his 5B is concerned was pretty bad. I mean, it took a hit. It just blew the front suspension, blew the whole thing apart. And apparently it was just sitting on the ground in front of him. I had just walked by him, and then I walked over to the right to put this up on the stand, and I look up because I seen somebody over towards the back of the guy's house, and it was a good 50 feet, you know, from the track to the fire pit. So apparently it just took off. Full speed, wide open throttle into this fire pit. So yeah, he was bummed out, and that just sucks to see, you know what I mean? No matter what, even if you don't know the guy, which I happen to know him, he's a great guy, it just sucks to see that kind of thing happen. Thankfully, he does have 2 rigs, so he had his 5T there with him that he could run, which in the end, he ended up trading with the owner of the track, 5T roller for his 5B, because the owner wants to run a 5T again, and he's a kind of a 1/5 scale kind of dude. He doesn't mess around with having a whole junkyard full of 5th scales. So yeah, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. The truck was amazing. Damage report, of course, I knew I was going to have some issues. One of the things about running the body the way I did, which, again, this, I can't say enough about this 30 North body. I cut all the rip. If you didn't see the previous video, of course, I cut the entire rear portion of the cage off. I left the mounting, you know, the body mount post holes. That's all I left, so that it could mount here and mount up there, which meant I was running essentially no protection in the rear. The truck felt lighter, and it seemed to feel more nimble. The rear of the truck was exposed, just like a 5B is. You know, 5B is entirely exposed, but the 5B has these incredibly beefy brackets, wing mounts that come off the tower, which provide, in my opinion, they do provide, because I've seen them go end over end. They provide protection from the A-arms or to the A-arms and the shocks and things like that. So if I continue to run this, I might see if I can pick up the Alosi rear wing kit, because it is going to provide some support or some protection. If not, I'm just going to run a bumper. I'm not going to run the rear portion of the cage, but I am going to run a bumper. But I'm just tired of buying that shit. Like, I was watching one of Lawrence's videos. Our brother from down under, he's got some ideas about what he might be able to do with the rear bumper to make it stronger. And it's true. I've already spent, God knows, $100 in the rear portion, buying it, twice now, of the cage. It just doesn't take the beating. The truck's too heavy. Once you get moving good enough, you're gonna break that shit, and it just sucks to have to keep buying it and keep replacing it when you'd rather be putting money elsewhere, So that's how I chose to run it. And like I said, of course, this thing, I knew it was going to take some abuse. It had already been folded like a taco once before. The red alloy one that was on here, that's what I started the day with. That one lasted 1 or 2 end over ends, and then once it happened, once it bent, the shock was hitting the upper arm here, the upper rod or link, and causing the shock not to dampen properly. So what was happening is when I hit a jump, once I hit the base of it, it would actually endo. It would send me into an endo, which was incredibly difficult to try to correct. And then it got to the point where I removed it, put this one on, because I had this one straight, I re-straightened it, and then this one bent so badly that the shocks was stuck. So by the end of the day, my shocks was stuck. You could put all your weight on the back of the truck and it would not move, it wouldn't go down. So, one of the guys was nice enough, we were the last 2 left out there. A lot of the a lot of the guys were having issues towards the end of the day, and or just, you know, maybe just called it a day or whatever. We were the last two out there, and he says, "Listen, we'll just roll that jump and we'll roll that jump. Let's race," you know. So he was willing to, you know, to kind of accommodate me and my ability not to be able to take the big jumps. And unfortunately, his truck stalled out. So I was hoping to get that on video, but his truck stalled out. He was having some carb issues. So I decided to call it a day at that point. I did notice I was hearing some kind of noises. I wasn't sure what it was. Last night I took a closer look, you know, when I brought it in from my truck, and I noticed, you can't see it, but let me see if I can get a light on it. I noticed that, and I'm assuming this is what it is, but I'm missing a tooth on the pinion. So I must have cracked a tooth off that. I also noticed, which is a bummer, is this took some damage, and you can see, look at that, the baby's up, guys. We're gonna have to call this video quits. I'll see if I can get back to it. This rear shock, of course, just puked, like the whole day it was puking. It was puking before this was even bent. The bladder on one of these King Motor shocks was junk from the very start, and I asked him to send me a new shock. Well, he said he didn't have any kicking around, so what he did was he sent me a shock rebuild kit, which came with everything but the bladders. The bladder on this one, when I had opened up these shocks, brand new, I wanted to check them all, and this one had leaked in the box, so I pulled it off. The bladder doesn't sit properly. It's like it wasn't cut right, you know, so it doesn't seat the way it should, and it's been an issue ever since. So of course, as this got bent worse and worse, it was puking more and more. I did end up topping it off thanks to Chris. He had some 30 weight laying around. I topped it off throughout the day, and it just puked the rest of it out. The battery was great, the steering servo was great, the King Motor throttle servo, everything was great. The vent system, I'm running this vent system, you know, and this here, absolutely great. The 1107 carb, didn't have any issues. I didn't have to touch it. Of course, I did run it a little bit rich, you know, because the motor's new. But I ran a few tanks through it yesterday, and in the end, I mean, I left there with the biggest smile on my face. I did notice the bead locks. This one here just split, and then this here, this rim here, has a crack in it in the outer edge right there. It doesn't go all the way through, so I'm assuming it's still usable, but it's got a nice crack in it. Yeah, see how bad that thing puked out? It just sucks, man. That bladder system, I don't know about it. And apparently Losi doesn't sell the bladder system, or the kit that comes with the bladders. But they do make one, and FID makes one that, from what I understand, will work. You know, that's designed for these shocks. So, and it's like 15 bucks on eBay or Amazon. So I'm probably gonna get that and see what I can do with it. And of course, if I'm going to keep running this setup, regardless actually, because this thing got bent up even when I had the complete rear cage on it, I'm going to go ahead and buy a really nice rear shock tower, like an IRP, or, you know, the modified RC one, the $80 one. I need something that's stronger, period. That track is just, you know, once you get moving and the weight of these trucks, you definitely need a beefy rear shock tower. For now, though, I grabbed the front Losi, and I'm waiting on having him ship me the rear stock Losi shock tower setup, or, you know, set. One of the guys up there, Chris, had a set and offered to sell it to me for 30 bucks, so I thought that was a decent deal. And the Losi, the stock Losi versus the King Motor metal or alloy, you can tell it's better. You know, you can just tell. I would show you a comparison. I have the front one. He didn't have the rear one with him, so he's sending it to me when I pay him or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely better metal, so that's another thing. But as far as Losi versus, you know, buying a King Motor or whatever, you know, the metals and the, you know, and I assume the plastics, because their plastics seem to hold up a little bit better. I'm going to cut the video short. Thanks again for all the comments, the love. I appreciate you guys watching. I enjoy all your videos. My wife, my kids know who you guys are now, because I'll watch it in the living room sometimes. So, you know, keep making videos, guys, and I'll keep learning, and I'll keep wrenching. We got 2 more open track days between now and May. You know, yeah, between now and May. So I'm going to try to make sure I get her ready again, and, you know, can get out there for the next open track day next month. Little side note, my wife says to me the night before the track, she says, when is it ever going to end? I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean, when's it going to end? She said, when is it going to end? When does it end? You know, when does what end, babe? What? Well, the money. When do you stop spending money? When do you stop? You know, it's just going to be the same thing next month. You're going to be out there in the garage, you know, working on the truck again all month long, you know, trying to make sure you get it ready, yada, yada, yada. When does it end? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how do I answer this question? You know, without causing World War II here. And I came to the conclusion that it doesn't end, babe. It doesn't. What do you want? It just doesn't end. This is what I do. This is my hobby. Yes, I'm going to try to do my best to keep control, you know, some reasonable budget on how much money I'm willing to spend on it. You know, don't get me wrong. I know we have 4 kids. Kids are expensive. We need to make sure they have cars when they get old enough. They have money in accounts for college. We need to make sure that these things are taken care of before any of this stuff. You know what I mean? My family definitely comes first. But I'd like to think that we have everything we want and need before I spend money on this stuff. And it's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way. You know, but, you know, maybe she doesn't see it that way. I don't know. Or maybe she just feels like me, you know, spending money on this stuff is just frivolous. When in the end, this is all I do. You know, I don't spend $200-300 to go to football games, or $500, $600 to go get shit-faced in the parking lot. And, you know, I watch football all day long like most of the guys I know. I don't do that. I don't sit in bar rooms and blow, you know, $150 getting drunk. I don't do any of that shit. You know, this is what I spend my money on. So, you know, in my opinion, this is about as innocent as it possibly gets. Don't get me wrong. I know it's an expensive hobby. It really is. If you're not ready to open your wallet, stay away from fifth scale. That's for sure. But can you do it on a budget? You know, within reason, I think you can. And of course, I've learned a lot from my mistakes buying, you know, the cheap clone stuff, and of course, you know, just being new in general, and maybe ordering the wrong stuff, or screwing something up when I installed it, only causing more issues, something else to break. So I've spent a little bit more money than I probably needed to, but to be honest, I have this thing sitting over here in the corner, and you know, those of you guys that don't know, that's the Vector clone. It's one of 2 in this country that I know of. I had both of them at one point. If you go back to my older videos, you'll see I ended up with 2 of them. One of them had a nylon housed rear axle as opposed to the alloy one that this has, like the Vector. And it's a rare rig, that's for sure. And I custom painted it. My idea was the Ghost, it's called the Ghost Racing G5, was that it was kind of taking over the Vector. So if you'll notice the original Vector paint scheme or wrap scheme colors are laid out, and the neon is kind of ripping over it. But yeah, I mean, I got this thing sitting here, and it's starting to look like $800 to me, $900. I don't know. I might sell it. If I do, I could line my PayPal account with kind of, you know, some rainy day money for this thing, so that I can keep racing it without dipping into my regular, you know, savings account or our regular income. So she's not, you know, crying about things. And I don't mean crying literally, but you know what I mean. So she's not bitching about things. But at the same time, I like knowing this is here. I want to build it at some point. But I also know that building it is going to be expensive. So we'll see. And the Baja, I'll never get rid of that thing. I just won't. Just out of principle. That was my first fifth scale. She's like, you know, I know it may not look like I got love for her, but I do. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm rambling at this point, guys. I'll get back to you if I can. The footage. I'm going to see what I got, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, and if I can make some sense of it and put together a decent video, I definitely will, and hopefully get that posted tonight. We'll see. Take it easy, guys. Thanks for watching.